Disclaimer: the comments made in this video are solely for entertainment purposes and are not intended to harm or offend anyone.
The citizens of Gaza cannot assemble in protest of their own government, cannot do or say what they want, or practice whatever religion they want, or have a free press. All rights guaranteed in just our First Amendment. The irony in all this is that the world the founders birthed, flawed though it may be, provides the bedrock for everything that makes life good for the very people who hate them so much.
Bill Maher has focused on the younger generation, and it is harsh the outspoken comedian blasted them for hating America and blaming every worldwide problem on the nation. Maher held nothing back, delivering one fierce criticism after another meant to crush the sensitive woke youth. Get ready, it is about to get intense.
Smartest thing Democrats did this year was finding their patriotism again. If you told me a year ago that if Kamala Harris would be the nominee and in her acceptance speech she would use the word privilege, I would not have guessed that she used it the way she did.
The greatest privilege on earth. The privilege and pride of being an American.
Yeah, and Tim Walz also began his speech with a great line saying, "We're all here tonight for one beautiful, simple reason. We love this country." And yet this message doesn't seem to be catching on with a lot of the younger people. None of them are standing up and screaming, "That's my country." Quite the reverse. Quite the reverse. The protests that started off as justice for Palestine have morphed into a broader kind of America is the problem. We the whole world.
I must admit the young woke crowd did not create their dislike for America from nothing they inherited it. They grew up watching their parents, teachers, and so-called influencers mock and insult this nation again and again over time. That negativity sank in, and now they display it like a symbol of pride. And let us not act as if we have not witnessed the double standards out in the open. Many celebrities have thrown fits threatening to leave America because it does not cater to their every demand. Whether it is insisting that biological men take part in women's sports or pushing extreme abortion policies, the younger generation took all of this in, and now they repeat it louder, angrier, and even more unthankful.
This weekend there was a pro-Palestine rally in Seattle, and when the rapper Macklemore said, "F America," everybody loved it.
Yeah, America.
Yeah, I'm sure it was a big hit with the Queers for Gaza crowd. Literally advocating for a government that would imprison you or kill you for being queer from the safety and security of a country that doesn't do.
Bill Maher then reveals the complete absurdity in the thinking of the younger woke crowd who hate America simply for backing Israel in the Middle East. In their twisted logic, the United States is somehow the real terrorist, while Hamas, the very group they loudly defend, is given a free pass. The irony is overwhelming. These same activists waving rainbow flags fail to see that Hamas, if given the chance, would punish or even wipe them out completely for being queer. Bill Maher cuts through the illusion, reminding them that their blind hatred of America puts them in line with forces that openly deny their existence.
Yes, America, the only place in the world where a white guy from the suburbs could become a millionaire rapper, because here every person, regardless of race, class, or gender, has the right to be talent-free. And guess what document allows you to protest and chant, "Hey, hey, ho, ho," followed by something really stupid? Yeah, Constitution Day was last week. It's an actual federal holiday, but no one noticed, despite the fact that it's probably the greatest legal document ever. Is it flawed? Of course. It was written by humans, and they were all white men, as depicted in this illustration from Google AI.
What the young woke crowd does not understand is that even with its flaws, America is still one of the greatest nations on earth for opportunity and freedom. No other place provides the same level of advantage, safety, and possibility. The American dream is still real. It may require determination, sacrifice, and effort, but anyone willing to push forward can rise above their situation. That promise is not just a phrase. It is written into the Constitution, a document built by the founders to protect liberty for future generations. Instead of tearing America apart, maybe it is time to value the remarkable rights and opportunities that countless people across the world can only hope for.
How about looking at the actual ideas in it? I won't hold my breath for that because only 14% of 8th graders are proficient in history now and only 22% in civics, which may be why 4 in 10 Gen Zers say the authors of the Constitution are best described as villains. Wow. It's amazing since in 1776, James Monroe was 18. Alexander Hamilton was 21 and James Madison 25. Joe Biden was only 30.
Of course, no Bill Maher takedown would be finished without a shot at President Joe Biden's age. Bill Maher has long been one of the few voices on the left willing to openly say what many quietly admit, that Biden is not just getting older, but clearly declining, while his Democratic supporters tried to convince Americans that Biden was sharp stable. And at his strongest, Bill Maher kept raising the warning. He highlighted the obvious mistakes, the slips, and the moments of confusion that others wanted to ignore. Whether people like him or dislike him, Bill Maher refused to go along with the act. And he has been sounding that warning long before the mainstream was willing to admit it.
America's founders, they were the Gen Z of their day. And when they were your age, they started a country. What the fuck have you done? So, no, the Constitution isn't perfect because it wasn't written by Taylor Swift, but... And yes, the founders made excruciating compromises, obviously slavery. But slavery was a deal breaker for the southern states. So there would have been 2 countries. And then to end slavery in North America, it would have involved invading a sovereign nation instead of having the moral high ground of keeping a union together. Would that have been better? History's complicated, and Gen Z reasoning is...
Bill Maher points out what he views as one of the biggest flaws in the thinking of woke Gen Z, their fixation on judging the framers of the Constitution by modern standards. They constantly use slavery as a weapon to attack the Founding Fathers, as if the men who built a fragile new nation should have made choices with 21st century hindsight. Bill Maher argues that the founders recognized the risks of ending slavery immediately at the birth of the country. It would have shattered the young republic before it even had a chance to endure. Was it morally perfect? Of course not, but it was a strategic decision to keep the Union together and allow space for gradual change. The Constitution itself laid the foundation for eventual freedom. Yet, instead of acknowledging that historical complexity, woke Gen Z writes off the founders as villains, refusing to see the imperfect but visionary framework that made today's freedoms possible.
I think they're pure, but they're really just simplistic. They know 2 things. White people did some very bad things, and no, that's it. That's all they did. That's okay.
I do not place all the blame on Gen Z for their distorted view of history. Hollywood has played a huge role in shaping how they see the past for decades. The film industry has produced movies about slavery, many of which exaggerate, dramatize, or overstate events to create emotional impact and cinematic flair. That is what Hollywood does. It entertains first and informs second. Even documentaries, which should focus on facts, often lean towards sensationalism, adjusting stories just enough to draw more viewers and stir outrage. The issue is that younger audiences take in this content without much critical thought. They accept dramatized scenes and inflated portrayals as if they were actual history lessons. Woke Gen Z then takes these exaggerations, turns them into slogans, and repeats them as unquestionable truths. Instead of exploring the details of history, they echo Hollywood scripts, mistaking distortion for reality. And Bill Maher is not afraid to point that out.
Well, I know that too, but I also know other things. Like how in 1776, slavery was a lot like flying private today. If you could afford to, you would have done it too. Everybody did it, of all races, throughout history, in the Bible, and all over the world. If you hate George Washington for slavery, are you prepared to hate the woman king? Because her empire was built on it too. And where do you imagine is this place, outside of your brilliant, pure minds, that's so much better than America? At least America self-corrects, a mechanism for which was actually written into the Constitution.
Bill Maher is absolutely correct. The loudest voices attacking the Founding Fathers for not ending slavery right away or for owning slaves themselves are often blind to the reality of history. If those same critics had lived in the 18th century, chances are they would not have acted any better. And maybe even worse, because slavery was not only accepted, it was the standard. In fact, nearly every major figure from the past, both inside and outside America, had connections to slavery in some way. From philosophers to kings to military leaders, owning slaves was sadly viewed as a normal practice across societies. That does not excuse it, but it does put it into perspective. The founders were products of their time, and yet they still built a constitution that planted the roots for eventual abolition. Instead of condemning them with modern outrage, we should recognize the flawed but groundbreaking vision they left behind.
The citizens of Gaza cannot assemble in protest of their own government, cannot do or say what they want, or practice whatever religion they want, or have a free press. All rights guaranteed in just our First Amendment. The irony is, in all this, is that the world the founders birthed, flawed though it may be, provides the bedrock for everything that makes life good for the very people who hate them so much.
Bill Maher raises a powerful and undeniable point. Woke Gen Z enjoys the very freedoms guaranteed by the Constitution, the same Constitution created by the Founding Fathers. They claim to despise their right to protest, their freedom of speech, their ability to march in the streets and voice their anger without fear of prison or execution. All of this exists because of the system those founders built, yet in their misguided activism, they rally behind regimes like Palestine, ignoring the harsh truth that such governments do not grant their people anything close to those same rights. In the places they glorify, free speech is crushed, dissent is silenced, and personal freedoms are non-existent. The irony could not be greater. They condemn America while benefiting from its liberties, all while praising regimes that would take away every right they now take for granted. It is hypocrisy at its clearest.
It's so easy to take for granted individual liberty, a Bill of Rights, the rule of law, checks and balances, getting a trial by jury, the peaceful transfer of power, protecting minority rights, and democracy itself. But those are the things that make our pampered, privileged, bratty lives so relatively cushy. No one starves here. Even our poor people are fat.
With all the food programs, support systems, and welfare options in America, it is almost impossible for someone to starve against their will. The system may not be flawless, but it makes sure no one is left without basic needs. Food banks, shelters, government aid, and countless private charities step in every day to help people. Compare that to many parts of the world where poverty is overwhelming, where families go days without food, and where even clean water is considered a luxury. Yet, ironically, some Gen Z activists point to those same countries as supposedly better than America. They glorify systems that cannot even provide the most basic human security while ignoring the plenty and chances available at home. The reality is that even America's poor and homeless live in conditions far better than millions of people overseas. That is not propaganda, it is fact. And it is something to value rather than ridicule.
Not everyone has to be bribed. Anyone can get rich. The cops are flawed, but we're not a police state. The drinks don't make you go blind, and no one pushes you out of a window for a bad Yelp review. Our government takes a lot and a lot, but it also gives a lot. Healthcare, retirement, money, unemployment, disability, college grants, food stamps. Maybe in the blissfully perspective-free mind, this all adds up to a low bar that America has reached. But you have to ask, why do millions of people every year risk their lives to come here?
Indeed, America is far from flawless. It has problems, divisions, and ongoing challenges. But even with all of that, it still holds some of the strongest economic systems and institutions in the world. That is exactly why people are not running away from America, but rushing to it in huge numbers. For millions across the globe, this country represents hope, a chance to find stability, freedom, and success that would be impossible in their homelands. Many would give anything just to experience a small part of. what we often take for granted every single day. I personally know immigrant parents who sacrificed everything: careers, comfort, even safety, just so their children could grow up in America. They face struggles without complaint because they understand the opportunities here outweigh everything they left behind. That is the strength of this nation, and it is why people risk it all to be part of it. And with that, we close today's video. If you enjoyed it, make sure to hit the like button and subscribe to this channel for more content like this. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next one.